I think the multiverse is an unmitigated disaster because it takes a theory that you hoped would explain and predict a lot and turns it into a theory that explains and predicts nothing. In the multiverse, what happens at the end of inflation is that you end up with, well, first of all, inflation never ends everywhere. Inflation continues forever. And what happens during inflation is that instead of producing a universe in which every place in space has the same properties, and the properties we observe in particular, instead the universe breaks up into patches, huge patches of space, each of which have different properties. We would belong to one of those patches, but other patches would have different properties. Different properties means that anything that you might measure about the universe here would be different than might be different than the universe in other patches, an infinite number of other patches in the multiverse. So if I have a theory which instead of predicting X, predicts actually not just X, but an infinite number of other possibilities, and what you observe is X, is it really explaining or predicting X? No, because anything you would have measured, anything that was conceivably or physically possible would have been possible in your multiverse theory. So the discovery that inflation leads to a multiverse is, in a sense, a breakdown, an internal breakdown of the theory itself. It didn't function the way we thought. It doesn't explain in a nice way why the universe is the way it is. It produces a patchwork of universes which have all conceivable properties and with no instruction as to why our particular patch of the universe has the properties that it does. And it's particularly disturbing because our particular patch of the universe happens to be extraordinarily simple. It's not arbitrary and random. There's no sense of arbitrariness and randomness in it. It has the simplest possible conceivable properties that you can imagine on large scales. Now, if you're trying to explain something very, very simple, why do you have to imagine that there were an infinite number of patches which are not simple in order to explain the one simple thing? I think that's a fundamental logical breakdown in the theory that we end up with this multiverse idea.